everything about polio. Even though what it is.
Paul Alexander is a polio survivor who spends nearly all day, every day, inside his iron lung at home in Dallas, Texas. The disease paralyzed Paul from the neck down, so the machine helps him breathe by using negative pressure to force his body to take in air. He was only 6 years old when he caught polio in 1952, one of the worst outbreak years in U.S. history.
When I first contracted polio, I was this kid like everybody else, but began to feel a little bit real. But mom's on my face, she put me immediately to bed. Over the next 5 days, I lost everything. Couldn't move, couldn't walk, and finally, the last day, I couldn't breathe. My diaphragm was gone, destroyed. Right? My muscles were gone, destroyed. Which left me in the lung for the rest of my life.
Parents were so afraid of the mysterious, deadly disease that they kept their children from playing with others. Pools, theaters, camps, even schools shut down.
Everybody was petrified. The concept of polio, it kind of dominated the summer. The parents were freaked out if the kids had got the sniffles.
But just a few months after Paul contracted the disease, Jonas Salk discovered a vaccine for polio. Today, Paul is one of the last living polio survivors who has such a bad case of paralysis that he still relies on a relic of that dark time. He can leave the device only for a few hours at a time with tremendous difficulty. He relies on his longtime caretaker to do just about anything that he can't do with his own mouth.
My breathing out of the arm is voluntary. I have to think about it, work at it, so I get tired. After a while, I'll go back to rest.
But the iron lung hasn't stopped Paul from living a full life. He went to law school, passed the bar exam, and started his own practice.
I've had literally thousands of clients, worrying about the iron lung. They come into my office and they say, "Who's that?" And I tell them what it is. My God, if you can handle that, you could find your way to this point. One cut going on. I've had nobody tell me that.
The last iron lung was manufactured about half a century ago. So Paul has struggled to find people who know how to repair the antique. He became so desperate for help, his friend posted a YouTube video of Paul explaining that his iron lung was falling apart, in hopes that a machinist who knew how to help would see it. But it wasn't until he met local mechanical engineer Brady Richards 2 years ago that Paul was able to stop worrying about his iron lung.
This are the instructions for the day. So that's how we determine how it's supposed to work.
Brady refurbished the machine in a garage where he also works on hot rods and race cars.
This is the one Paul was originally in. It's getting worn out, it's leaking really bad and doesn't produce enough pressure. So that's why we took him out of this one and put him in the restored one. The biggest challenge really was the lack of parts. It wasn't the big parts, it's the small parts. Nobody's got them, so we have to make them ourselves.
My life would be down the tubes if it wasn't for him. Because I went for years to find someone who knew how to work on our lung.
We are barely a generation past one of our country's most frightening epidemics. So close that some of its victims are still living in the archaic machines of that era. But from history. Polio is still a major concern in some developing countries. Some experts say it's possible a new polio epidemic could happen in the U.S. as more and more parents are opting out of immunizing their children.
What I worst thought is that Polly wants to come back. The first treated in Afghanistan, or Pakistan, or Nigeria, or wherever. Polio was still happening. Somebody carried the virus. Would come to America and then just infect one child. It only takes one child in life. And there's going to be another epidemic. This is a polio death. It's not a fun trip. It's real.
Paul just finished writing a memoir using only his mouth. He hopes it will help people understand what it's like to live with polio and why we must continue the fight to eradicate it globally.
I've always been an inquisitive person. My parents taught me to use my intelligence and my energy to be productive. I've never thought of myself as a cripple. That's the word I choose to use because I think it covers the ground in most people's perceptions. I'm not disabled, I'm not handicapped, I'm not limited, I'm crippled. At least in most people's minds, except mine. I've experienced everything in life that you have in no one. I'm Paul Alexander. Human being.